welcome to my YouTube channel, a hub where we take the mystery out of chemistry so you can make history. On today's episode of Question for the Day, we're dealing with a chemical equation that they have asked us to balance appropriately. So let's get right into what we have on today's episode of Question for the Day. So we have this equation that says C₃H₈, which is actually called propane, plus oxygen producing carbon dioxide CO2 and water H2O. So let's balance this chemical equation step by step. So first things first, we need to know the number of elements that we have. Okay, so from this chemical equation we can identify three separate elements. We have the first one, which is carbon. Carbon has the symbol C, and then the next one is hydrogen. Hydrogen has the symbol H, and then we have the last one, which is oxygen. Oxygen has the symbol O. So the next thing to do is to count the number of atoms of each element that we have on the left hand side, which is the reactant side, and on the right hand side, which is the product side, and then add appropriate coefficients to balance it. What do I mean? Let's get into details. The first element that we have is carbon. On the left hand side over here, you can see we have 3 atoms of carbon denoted by C3. So this tells us that carbon has 3 atoms because of this subscript of 3 placed over here. So we have 3 atoms of carbon. On the right hand side, however, there is just 1 atom of carbon because this C doesn't have any subscript, neither does it have any coefficient attached to it. So just 1 atom of carbon. So that tells us that we need to add a coefficient of 3 to this in order to make carbon to be balanced on the left side and on the right side. So now that we have carbon balanced, the next element to move on to is hydrogen. So for hydrogen, we have how many atoms of hydrogen? We have 8 atoms of hydrogen on the left hand side. H8 here signifies that hydrogen has a subscript of 8, denoting that there are 8 atoms of hydrogen on the left side. On the right side, you can see H2 inside H2O. This 2 here belongs to hydrogen, showing that there are 2 atoms of hydrogen on the right hand side. So we have 8 on the left and 2 on the right. So how do we make that equal? We simply multiply 2 by 4. So that tells us that we need to add a coefficient of 4 in front of H2O in order to make hydrogen balance. So let's write out the equation that we have thus far. This is the original equation, C₃H₈ plus O2 giving CO2 plus H2O. We added a coefficient of 3 in front of CO2 and a coefficient of 4 in front of H2O. So now we have carbon balanced and hydrogen balanced as well. So the next element to move on to is oxygen. On the left hand side, we have just 2 atoms of oxygen denoted by this number 2 over here. On the right hand side, let's count how many atoms of oxygen we have now. So if there are 2 atoms of oxygen over here, let's count on the right hand side. Over here, you can see oxygen has a subscript of 2, which is affected by this coefficient of 3. So we have 3 multiplied by 2, which gives us 6. And we also have another element of oxygen over here, which is having a coefficient of 4. So we have 6 plus 4, that gives us 10. So on the left hand side, just 2 elements or 2 atoms of oxygen, and on the right hand side, 10 atoms of oxygen. So that tells us that in order to make them equal, we simply multiply 2 by 5 to make them 10 on either side. So finally, we have the equation C₃H₈ plus 5O2 giving us 3CO2 plus 4H2O. This right here is our final balanced equation. I'm sure you enjoyed every bit of this, and I'd like you to please like this video if you did. Drop a comment on something you found very insightful, and please subscribe for more educational content coming your way from this space. Up until I come your way next time, my name is David, and all we do here is to take the mystery out of chemistry so you can make history. We'll see you in the next video.